Welcome back to another episode of the Field of 68's 2023 NBA Draft Prospect Profiles. My name is Rob Doster. I have with me none other than the rifleman himself, Terrence Oglesby. We are going to be breaking down Max Lewis today, a 6'7", 195-pound sophomore from Pepperdine. He averaged 17 points, 5.5 rebounds, and just under 3 assists while shooting 47% from the floor, 35% from three, and 79% from the free throw line. T.O., he is projected as one of these guys kind of in that late first, early second round. If he got the information from the NBA's the advisory committee, they probably give him that typical 25 to 40 range in terms of where he is projected. He had a little bit of a swoon down the stretch, but he is a shooter. He's a guy that can get his own shot, and he is a 6'7" athlete that is explosive. What do you make of Max Lewis as a player and as a prospect?
You know, he's an interesting kid. He's one of these guys that left his senior year in high school early to go and train with Frank, Matriciano, who Marjan Beauchamp and some of these other guys have gone to skip their year, try to get ready for the draft. And then out of nowhere, he goes to Pepperdine, elects to go to college. So this isn't a kid that comes out of the high school scene, out of the 300s in the middle of nowheresville. This kid was a good player coming out of high school, top 100 recruit, a lot of athletic intangibles, if you will, 6'7", 195 with room to grow. He looks a lot like, from a body profile standpoint, not so much a finished product, but Jared Rhoden that played at Seton Hall a couple of years ago. Big, strong, capable of being big and strong, big shoulders, narrow hips, and he's a long strider. He's able to get to the rim off of one dribble. And in football, they talk about these two-stride guys, 2 strides, or 1 stride, 5 yards. He's one of these guys that gets places fast and on a few dribbles because he is that type of athlete. And let's be honest, where he was playing at, they let him explore. Lorenzo Romar, former Washington coach, now back at Pepperdine for his second tenure there, set up a lot of plays for him to get busy, to get to work, to do some things and be creative. And he really flourished in that role. What can he do right now at the NBA level? Well, he can shoot the basketball. He's going to be able to spot up in a corner. He's going to be able to run off some things and play in some transition situations. He's got a lot of talent. If I'm evaluating, Rob, I like him anywhere from 25 in the mid-20s, the back end of that first round, because I think if you put him in the right situation with the right veterans, this is a guy that could turn into a really good player down the road.
Are you worried about the kind of like the late season drop that he had in his last 13 games? He averaged 13 points per game, shot just 39% from the floor and just 22% from three. Is that just part of being the best player on a Pepperdine team that only won 9 games? Is this what happens when you get in league play and your scouting report gets out there? Is this just a product of, let's be frank, playing for a guy, Lorenzo Romar, that hasn't exactly had a ton of high level coaching success? What do you make of that drop?
I think, best player on a bad team can be a little bit of it. But on the flip side of that, physically, he's not at his ceiling yet. And I think after a few years, if he really takes his nutrition seriously, if he really takes the weight room seriously, this is something that's not going to happen, because going to that next level, that NBA level, he's never really going to be the best player on his team, but he can be a very good player, a third, fourth option, to where that ball swings to him quickly. He can get a shot off. He can finish in transition. He's never going to be that primary ball handler. And to be honest with you, Rob, you look at some of his one-on-one moves, he does a lot of intriguing things, but he does have a narrow waist. Is he going to be able to hold off some of these guys and create? That's what worries me at the next level. But if his physical profile improves, I think so will his NBA success.
So the name that immediately popped into my mind when watching him and when kind of profiling him as a guy, 6'7", skinny, really good shooter, athlete, Trey Murphy on the Pelicans, the kid that came in from Virginia. Didn't have a huge impact as a rookie, but this past season, he averaged 14.5 points and shot 40% from three while shooting more than 6 threes per game, starting 65 games. Do you see him? Can he play that role? He's not quite as big and he's not quite as long or quite as explosive, but he is a guy that has that positional versatility and can knock down a corner three. Like, can he have that kind of an impact that Trey Murphy had?
That's a lot, saying 14.5 points a game at the back end of the first. I think that could be tough, but I do think that he could fall into, a second unit guy that could be a spark plug and hit 2 or 3 on a given night. Trey Murphy, I think, is a really good player, and he's But Trey Murphy's 2 inches taller. His wingspan's a
Mhm.
little bit longer. Like Trey Murphy has a lot of tools. He's a 12-year pro. This guy could certainly carve out that type of role because of that positional size and versatility. To be honest with you, I like him more in the mold of a guy who could come off the bench and give you some quick points, i.e., potentially a Terrence Ross, but not the same level of athlete. Still a very good athlete, but maybe not Terrence Ross-esque, but slender, can score in bunches, and can shoot over the top, that can fit a lot of positions.
Are you worried about him on the defensive end?
Not really, because a lot of the things he shows offensively should translate. I mean, he's got loose hips. He's powerful in his lower body in terms of being able to cover ground. Could he be lackadaisical at times on the defensive end? I'm sure. But at Pepperdine, when you only won 9 games and you're relied on to score 17 points a game, sometimes that doesn't necessarily go to the forefront of your mind. He has all the intangibles to be able to defend at the NBA level, but guarding at the NBA level is a whole different deal as well.
Our partner for today's episode is Athletic Greens. I started taking AG1 during the college basketball season, and I loved the impact that it had on my energy levels. I'm a big coffee in the morning guy, but by the time that the afternoon would hit, I needed another boost. AG1 helped me tremendously, especially on those days when I didn't want to get up off the couch and go hit the gym. Their tagline is AG1 is comprehensive health and the power of habit in one. And man, that could not be more true. It's nearly impossible to eat and drink in a healthy manner in the month of February and the month of March when you are in my business. And AG1 was exactly the supplement that I needed to improve my gut health and cover my nutritional basis for the day. I've continued that into April. I've continued that into May, and I'm going to continue that the rest of the summer. All I have to do is mix a scoop of AG1 with some water, or maybe add it into a smoothie, and I'm ready to go. Do it after lunch, and you'll be ready to go for the rest of the day. If a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplement routine, then Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/field68. That's field 68 FIELD, the number 6, the number 8, and you can get yours now. So check it out and help support this show. Thanks. He's very much a guy where I think that the interview process will determine where he gets drafted, whether it's late first, early second, and who ends up picking him, more than just what people see on film or maybe what they see when they get him into the combine, play some of that 5-on-5, get some of the workouts, right? Because I think that he's a guy where the role that he played at Pepperdine is going to be incredibly different from the role that he plays in the NBA, right? He's going to be more or less a 3-and-D player when he gets to that next level, where at Pepperdine, he was kind of a, give him the rock, get out of his way, let him go get a shot kind of a player. And I just don't see him being good enough to do that at the NBA level. So can he accept a role? Can he buy into the job that he's supposed to be playing? It seems like he's going to be the guy. Like, will he fit on a roster as a piece as opposed to being the guy that you build around, if that makes sense?
Yeah, the mental portion is huge. But then again, so much goes back to fit. And there's a lot of guys that are in that 6'5" to 6'7" range that fit kind of in the same box. And the fact that he went to Pepperdine and was able to explore his game a little bit, I think is going to help him in the future. Now, how he's going to buy in to whatever role, whatever NBA team has for him, that's TBD. That goes in the interview process, like you said. But if you compare him to somebody like a Colby Jones at Xavier, you compare him to somebody like Julian Phillips at Tennessee, who we're going to talk about here in a little bit. Like, he is a guy that he was given a lot of leash. He was given the ability to figure out what he can and can't do. But some of the things that he's shown because of that freedom, because of that confidence, is going to translate. His ability to attack a closeout, know where he's supposed to go, finish above the rim. Like, some of these things are really intriguing. There's a lot to like about Max Lewis if he has it together and can fit into that role. And so much of it comes to fit and where you end up getting drafted, an opportunity that awaits you or doesn't await you. When it comes to those mid-20s guys, those things are huge, but he certainly has some of those capabilities.
Are you worried about the transition from a league like the WCC to the NBA?
Not necessarily, because you can see a lot of different teams. Look at the Miami Heat, for example. Mm-hmm. They have several guys. Gabe Vincent, I think he came from from that league.
San Jose State.
So he came from San Jose State. So not quite the same, both in California, but you get my drift. Players, they're going to find players. If you can play, they'll find you. Doesn't matter what league. He has all those capabilities. And let's keep in mind too, like I said at the beginning, he's a guy who's had these tools for a long time. He was a former top 100 player. Now he's been able to explore, been able to push his boundaries, and shown that he can score at a high level to go along with a lot of these things that NBA scouts like: positional size, ability to shoot it, long strider, ability to tack a closeout, and pretty good feel, to be honest with you. Not somebody that's going to create a bunch of plays, but can make that first level read. There's a lot to like here. How he adjusts to this level is going to be huge. But at the same time, if I'm picking in those mid-20s and I need somebody to come in and knock down some shots on occasion, or I can wait for a year or two before I really need him to step up into his role, this would be a good value pick late in the first round.
I like him on a lot of these playoff teams, right? I like him as a guy that can help create space. For example, with the Suns, right? They need guys that can be floor spacers. They need guys that are going to be able to give Kevin Durant and Devin Booker room to operate. I like him on the Warriors as another guy that can just kind of come in there and create a little bit of space outside of Clay and Steph. They roll out a lot of lineups where there aren't guys that are making shots, especially when Jordan Poole's shooting 28% in the playoffs, whatever it is. So I think he fits really well, assuming he buys into a role with a lot of these playoff teams. And, you know, if you're picking in the late 20s, you're a pretty damn good basketball team.
That's right. And leadership is so important too. For somebody who's drifted all over the place, who's been the best player on his team for the better part of 2 years, leadership, who he's placed with, how he can learn. The NBA is a different bag. It's tough. And guys sometimes fall into the wrong hands, and as a result are never really able to fully develop like they're capable of if there's not that leadership in place.
Last thing I got for you. Do you see upside with him as a player? Do you see the potential that he could end up being I don't know if maybe all-star's too strong, but kind of like a high-level starter for a playoff team, or is he just a guy that you're picking to kind of play a role?
I think it's possible that he could be an NBA starter at some point in his career. It's just, is that what you're getting at 25 to 35 throughout recent history? That answer is no. You're getting a lot of quality pieces if you pick right. But I think this is a guy who could start on occasion. He is right in that. If he plays well, he's in that 4, 5, 6, 7 range, depending on what team he's in. Especially if he goes somewhere like a Thunder, that's a lot of young players and things like that, where he could fit in, play right away, use his athletic ability and multi-positional skill to just continue to move the ball. I think the NBA is such a fit league. That's the hard part about this. So much relies on fit, and so many players are in that same height and weight category that what's going to differentiate him? Can he shoot the NBA 3 ball consistently? I think he has that ability, but getting there and doing it's a completely separate thing. But a lot of those tools are there.
It's hard to believe that we are talking about a guy that could be a first-round pick from a team that won 9 games in the WCC. As you said it, T.O., if you can play, the NBA will find you, and they have found Max Lewis. I hope you enjoyed this breakdown of his game. For more of these, you can check the description below. They will all be linked down there, and make sure you check out our NBA live mock draft, which will be happening 1 week before the NBA draft. Thank you for watching the Field of 68. If you've enjoyed what you've seen here, hit that like button, share this link with your friends, or check out the description for some other places that you can consume Field of 68 content.